Welcome to Focus Garage. In today's video, we're going to be showing you one of the new projects this year. Hi, how you doing?
Good. You guys want to see it?
Yeah,
No?
let's...
All right, well, that's the end of the video.
Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
And let us know what you guys think about the new MT-09.
Woo! So, all of Andre's tractor comments really got to me, and I just felt really self-conscious about the Harley. No. Just like I've got car ADD, I've got motorcycle ADD too. So I wanted to go something polar opposite of what I've owned. So, you know, a V-twin cruiser air-cooled bike. This is the entire opposite of this. This is a inline 3 bike, but let's go ahead and show you some of that bike first.
Sure, yeah, let's do it.
So, right here, we've got a 2018 Yamaha MT-09. This is pretty much the same bike the Yamaha came out with back in 2014, where it was called the FZ09, but in 2018, it went through a name change to the MT, which is what they're already calling it in the rest of the world. So, now the US gets to enjoy the same name that the rest of the world got. This is a inline 3-cylinder upright naked bike. So, you know, you don't sit very hunched over like a super sport bike. You sit upright. I will kind of show you where the pegs are at and everything like that there. And the bars are not, you know, clip-ons that are super hunched over. You know, you've got a standard kind of handlebar here. There is one mod on this bike, and you guys will see that in a future video. It's actually I've gone ahead and put a windscreen on it, and we'll have a full installation of that coming. But this is what we've got here. Bike makes really good power. It's known to be a wheelie machine, but we haven't figured that out just yet because, you know, we've got a break-in period. You got to do 600 miles of, you know, the first oil change, and then you've got to go to 1,000 miles on the second oil change, and you really shouldn't be hitting red line or bouncing limiter too much before that. So I'm just going to give you a little pan view of the bike here. So I've got about 50 miles on this motorcycle right now, so I'm starting to kind of, you know, get a feel for it, you know, break it in and see how everything feels on it. And just for, you know, quick comparisons to the Harley, this thing, other than being on 2 wheels, does not even feel comparable. And I'm not saying one's better than the other or anything like that, but it's just the differences are outstanding. So, you know, the Harley vibrates a lot and it's air cooled, whereas this, it's super smooth at idle and it's liquid cooled. The seating position is entirely different, and this actually has suspension travel. I don't know if you guys are aware, but that Sportster that I rode only had 1.8 inches of rear suspension travel. So any kind of dip you'd hit or bump in the road, you're literally bottoming out the shocks. Whereas this, it's got, you know, adjustable forks, adjustable rear suspension, and there's actually suspension travel. So the bike feels much more compliant on the road. You can go down bumpy roads and cracks and things like that. And it's not going to beat you up or anything like that.
So, good for the Harley versus MT-09 comparison. But what made you pick the MT-09 versus Suzuki has one and Honda has one as well?
Yeah.
What made you pick Yamaha MT-09 over that? Because that's what people want to know. I don't think they care about the Harley that you used to own.
All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll compare this. Yeah, so you've got the Z900, and then you've got the Honda's got the CB600 or 650R, and then they've also got the 1000R that would kind of compare to this. And what really made me choose this was, one, I love that this bike has an inline 3. I think that's really unique. I love the sound of it. I like the way these are really, really torquey engines. So unlike a lot of, you know, inline 4 motorcycles where you've got to wind them out to really get the power, this is torquey everywhere in the rev range, which really makes the bike, you know, enjoyable to ride. As far as bang for your buck too, this bike is priced very, very affordably. It's you know, below the Honda and even a little bit less expensive than the Suzuki as well. And one of the nice things about this is a 2018 model. We're filming this here in 2019. So if you actually want one of these, go and look around in dealer inventory. You'll usually find $1,000 to $1,500 off of MSRP. And bikes are not like cars. Usually when they sit around in a dealership, there's no fluid in them or anything like that. The battery is put on a tender, so it's not like the bike's been sitting outside getting rained on, bird shit, everything like that for months, you know.
So it's still a brand new bike.
It's still a brand new bike. I picked it up, I think it had 2, maybe 3 miles on the odometer, which is pretty neat. But as far as like the riding experience goes, this is definitely a very, very engaging bike to ride. So from what I've seen in reviews and heard about the other 2 competitors, especially the Z900, is that's a very, very compliant bike, which is great, you know, if you want to get on and kind of, you know, ride and commute on. But this bike is known to have like a rowdy nature to it. So something I like about this is it's very excitable. You know, it's very easy to lean. The bike is very flickable, very tossable. Again, technology as well. This bike has traction control standard, ABS standard, and ride mode standard. I believe one of the competitors there, ABS is optional, and in 2018, 2019, it's a shame that, you know, you're spending 9 to 12 grand on a bike and you've got to worry about, you know, buying ABS or something like that if you wanted to go that way.
So let's go back to the specs of this bike. Can you tell us what the quarter. I'm sure a lot of people might not care about this, but that would tell you what the acceleration and how the engine handles big powers and traction, all that stuff, how it goes on a quarter mile. What's the quarter mile time and what's the 0 to 60 time on this bad boy?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can manage to launch the bike and do a pretty nice acceleration run without ripping the front wheel off the ground, this bike will actually run 0 to 60, they say, in 2.9 seconds.
Woo!
And it'll knock down the quarter mile in like 10.9, 10.8.
Wow, that's demon territory compared to cars.
And it's one of those things where, like, obviously I didn't buy this bike for speed because unlike a super sport bike, these are speed limited to around, I think, 130 miles an hour. So you're not going to be doing 200 miles an hour down the freeway in this bike. It is more of like a kind of commuting backroads bike. But man, that low end speed and torque is insane. And people will even say, there's clips you can find on other places on YouTube of people running these against, R6s or, even R1s. And, up until about 100 miles an hour, the bikes are dead even, because those super sport bikes, you really got to wind them out to make the power. This, power is everywhere. And
probably with this bike, you have a different sprocket, so like your gear ratio is different on this bike to accelerate as good as the R1, because that's what Yamaha wants. That's what a lot of motorcycle companies want, that these bikes accelerate as fast as the R1, but it's more tame than their leader bikes, and also more user friendly than a leader bike, but you still have the same acceleration of a leader bike without having the huge problems of a leader bike.
Exactly. Yeah, a leader bike is not always the most best thing to drive, on regular streets, just because of the way you've got to wind it out, the seating position, everything like that. So the naked bikes are a really popular segment now. Yamaha's got a few, and all the manufacturers have a few bikes now. And it's one of those bikes where it's meant for commuting around, but you can also do longer day trips on it, for a few hours and not get tired, not get fatigued because of the seating position. But it gives you a lot of that enjoyment that you kind of get with riding a sport bike. You get more advanced suspension, just the handling characteristics of it.
I just want to butt in here and tell you that I told you so.
Yes, Ander did. So back when I got my bike, he's like, "Are you sure you don't want to look at something, a little more engaging to drive, a little more modern or something like that?" Because, the cars I've driven are typically enthusiast focused. And a Harley is, no offense to anybody that owns a Harley, or unless you own like one of the more performance geared ones, is not typically something that's exciting to ride.
The year lineup that you were actually looking at, not the new lineup we're talking about.
Yeah, when I bought my bike, I was looking to spend maybe $4,000 to $5,000. And if you wanted like a Harley at that point that was fun to ride, you got to look somewhere else. Like Ander went with the Suzuki, and that was a great purchase for him. And that definitely kind of steered me more in the direction of something like this. I really liked the capability of the bike and the different ways that you can ride it and the different things you could do with it. And same thing, I'm starting to learn that motorcycles are just as customizable, if not more, than cars. There's so many little things you can do to this bike, and we're going to be bringing them all to you guys here on the channel. I've said I've got the windscreen on there. We've also ordered a full exhaust for the bike, so expect to see that in a future video. But you're going to see a bunch of other things on the bike as well. So that's just all in due time. That stuff will be coming there. I'm going to go ahead and, pan around the bike one more time here, just so you guys aren't looking at the same thing, the entire footage here. But definitely drop in the comments below if you guys do have any questions about this motorcycle at all, or if there's anything in particular you want to see filmed about this bike. I'm going to try to hit 5,000 miles on the bike by the end of the year, which I know for some of you sounds like a lot. Some of you probably doesn't sound like anything. But with me, I do a full-time job, and my work is about a 60-mile round trip from where I live. So if I can ride this bike to work a lot during the week, we can stack up the miles that way. And I am planning a few trips, a couple day trips or even a multiple day trips over the summer. So I'd really like to put this bike, through its break-in procedure and, put it through the ringer and really see what it's all about, just because I enjoy it so much so far. It's only been 50 miles in, but the thing is an absolute freaking blast. And, just like the Fiesta ST that I owned, the reviews sold me on this thing. It really did. Like, if you go read the reviews, the only thing people will complain about is suspension if you're a very aggressive rider, if you're tracking the bike, which obviously I haven't pushed it that far yet. I can't speak for that. But all the reviews, you'll be hard-pressed to find a review that doesn't speak highly of this bike. It's an absolutely phenomenal machine.
And to be honest, if you're going to track an MT-09, you should spend the money to get a better suspension than what stock suspension is, because when these companies, Yamaha and Suzuki and Honda, when they're releasing these bikes, they try to cut costs as much as possible, because when you compare the MT-10 to R1, which is exactly same engine, same transmission, but the suspension is different, slightly different than the R1, which makes that bike cheaper, because suspension is not something that it's cheap, So It's the same story with the Suzuki that I have, that people complain that, oh, if you're going to track it, you better put a better suspension. But when you do that, I'm sure it's same story for the MT-09. They can compete with a
It's a
leader
perfectly
bike.
capable bike. If you go ahead and you spend, it's not cheap. You know, good suspension on motorcycles is not cheap. I think like a good rear shock setup is like anywhere from $800 to $1,000, and then the front forks is another $600 to $1,000. So, you know, you're going to be putting around $1,500, $2,000 into it to make it handle the way you want to be a competitor.
Surprisingly, that's how much you have to spend on a coilovers on a car to
Yeah.
get it spent. So,
Yeah, bike prices for parts are exactly the same as cars, even though it's half the size and half the amount of materials. But again, you pay to play. You know, when you're tinkering and modifying your stuff, that's the cost of entry, so to speak. But yeah,
I think we're gonna cut it off here for the introduction to this MT-09. Beautiful bike. I love it. I love it.
yeah. So yeah, we're definitely gonna bring you a lot more content of this thing. It's been a blast so far, and I can't wait to get some more miles in it.
Yeah, let us know in the comment, like Mike said, what you guys think about it. If you were looking to MT-09 but you went other way, going to Honda or Suzuki or anything, I believe Triumph has one too. So if you went the other way, let us know in the comment what made you pick that bike. Was it the price? Was it the performance? Or was it just because it was available?
Yep.
You know, let us know in the comment. And also, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so. We are pushing out a lot of videos this summer. We have a lot of projects going on the current cars that we have, and then the new cars that we're going to release.
Yeah, this is just one of many new vehicles
Yeah.
on the channel, so stay posted. I'm not sure what order you guys will be seeing this in, but there will be other new project vehicles being released as well.
We'll be releasing a lot more content this summer, so please do so, and push the bell button to get all the notifications from Mike and I, and we try to and make you guys enjoy yourself, I guess.
Oh, sounds so good. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great day.
Kudos to all.